Well, a lot of you will know that 1 week is a huge amount of time in our beautiful game of rugby, and Rassie has named his team to take on Argentina at Twickenham on Saturday. It's going to be a fascinating game after what happened last weekend at Kings Park in Durban. I'm going to go through the team that Rassie has selected and give you my thoughts and opinions. So let's go and sit in the park and have a chat about it right now. Now, in addition to my Inside Rugby with Mark YouTube channel that you're watching me on right now, I'm also starting up a global not-for-profit organisation. It's called United Rugby Fans, and my aim with a number of other rugby fans around the world coming together to work with me is to build this organisation so that the 500 million rugby fans across the world of rugby have a single voice and can come together to talk about all the things that are annoying us about the game of rugby across the world and how we want to fix them. We want to have a seat at the decision-making table with World Rugby and all of the other stakeholders in the game of rugby. It's time that the voice of us, the fans of rugby, we are the game, and we should be listened to more about what's going on with rugby, whether it be the officiating of games, whether it be the investment of the game in different countries across the world, whether it be the development of the women's game. There's all sorts of things and ideas that us, the fans, have a voice and should have a voice on. So if you want to know more about United Rugby Fans and what I'm doing with that not-for-profit organisation, it's completely different to my YouTube channel where I do my game reviews and all the rest of it. Get in touch with me now and I'll talk to you about it a little bit more. We're looking for people across the world of rugby in all sorts of different countries that want to align with us and help us grow this organisation. If you haven't been here before, and a lot of you are new to the channel recently, welcome. It's great to have you here. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan and I'm living here in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. And every day I like coming to my local park here and making videos about rugby. Today I'm going to be talking about Rassie's team that he's named to take on the Argentina Los Pumas at Twickenham next weekend, and it's a very interesting team as well. Now, lots to discuss around this because after the Springboks' emphatic win at Kings Park in Durban, can they back it up and can they ride all the hype? It's very difficult being a favourite in any game of rugby, and we've seen over the years how that label has actually brought problems for a number of teams. But will the Springboks team that has been named by Rassie be able to deal with that at Twickenham? And I'm sure they're going to have many thousands of South African supporters in tow at that beautiful ground in London as well. Talk about the team that Rassie has selected, and we'll start off in the front row, and it's going to be Oxen Chair, Malcolm Marx and Thomas du Toit again. And why would you change something that's not broken? And that's the philosophy going on here, I think, with Rassie with this entire team selection. Moving on quickly to the locks in the game, we're going to see Eben Etzebeth and Ruan Nortje, who I thought were outstanding last weekend. There was a lot of competition in the lineouts. I thought the South African lineout improved a lot. A lot of you have been saying over recent weeks how the South African lineout has been a little bit of a mess, but I think it came to fruition last week that things were worked out and there was a lot of good competition from the Springboks in the lineout. Moving on to the back three in the forwards, and we're going to see Siya Kolisi, we're going to see Pieter-Steph du Toit, and we're going to see Jasper Wiese. Each of those players I thought were outstanding last week. It's good to see Pieter-Steph du Toit back to his amazing energetic self again, scoring 2 tries in that game last weekend at Kings Park. And I thought Siya put in a great shift as well, as did Jasper Wiese. And I really believe Jasper Wiese is the solution for the Springboks at number 8, and he showed it since he returned with that game against the All Blacks in Wellington a few weeks ago. So that's going to be a great pack for the Springboks to start this particular game. I don't see any issues with it, and the Argentines are going to have to really up their game quite a lot to compete. And this was one of the areas where I'd mentioned in my previous week's video about how I thought the Pumas were going to struggle against this Springbok pack, and I see the same problems coming again this weekend at Twickenham. Now let's move on to the back line, because I wanted to see whether Rassie was going to make any changes here after that enthralling game at Kings Park last weekend. And he stuck with his 9 and 10 combination. So we're going to see Kobus Reinhardt back again. We're going to see the magical Sasha Feinberg Ngoma Zulu. And boy, what pressure is there on him to do a repeat performance of what he did at Kings Park. and I think we need to lower the expectations just a little bit. He is a phenomenal player, but expecting him to play like that game after game is going to be a little bit of a high expectation, I feel. There's no doubt, though, that Sasha is going to bring the crowds into Twickenham next weekend, and it's going to be very exciting to see how he plays in that particular game. And outside Sasha, we're going to see Damien Delandy at 12, and we're going to see Kanan Moody again at 13. So those two played very well last weekend, a good complementary pair in the midfield with Sasha at 10. So I thought Rassie was probably going to go with this pick again, and he has. And then on the wings, we're going to see Ethan Hooker, and we're going to see the drop kick specialist. Yes, Cheslin Colby is back for this game at Twickenham. Now, there's been some good, healthy banter going around about Cheslin's drop kicking abilities from last weekend. I'm sure he won't be pulling that out of his bag this weekend at Twickenham. And then at fullback, we're going to see Damien Willemse again, so that makes sense in terms of having him there. So again, we're going to see pretty much the same lineup we saw against the Argentines last weekend at Kings Park. And Rassie obviously has a faith in this team that put over 60 points against the Pumas at Durban last weekend. So I think it was pretty much a no-brainer for Rassie to go with the team again. I think in terms of the motivation, the inspiration, the adrenaline, the confidence, all those things that build up to a player's psychology will be embedded in this team after last weekend's performance at Kings Park. And they'll be hoping for a repeat, won't they, as well as all the South African fans across the world. Now let's have a look at the bench for the Springboks and see what changes that are happening here, because there are a couple. And on the front row, we're going to see Bonami back into the team. We're going to see Jan-Henrik Wessels again and Wilco Low. So a brilliant front row to come in. Bonami's coming back after a while of being out of the team. A lot of you have said in the comments that you think Rassie has started to phase Bonami out of this team, and it'll be interesting to see how many more runs he gets, but more importantly, how does he go this weekend coming off the bench for the Boks? And then the other two forwards that are going to come off the bench, well, it's going to be R.G. Schneemann again and also Quagga Smith, and boy, what an impact they had last weekend, and I'm sure Rassie will be looking for exactly the same thing from these two specialists who, in my mind, are two of the best bench players in World Rugby at the moment. Without a doubt, they would definitely get into any team across World Rugby today. And then looking at the backs that'll come off the bench for the Springboks, Grant Williams is back, one of my favourite players, as I mentioned many times here on the channel. Great to see him back. He brings that extra pace and agility when he comes on. He's going to terrorise, I think, this Pumas defensive line in the later stages of this game, so watch out for that. And then we're going to see Mani Lebok and we're going to see Jesse Creel. That's an interesting pick for me. Now, I don't know when I've seen Jesse Creel come off the bench for the Boks. I've been watching their rugby for a long time and I just haven't got it in my memory when he last played off the bench for the Springboks, but I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments when Jesse Creel has done that. So what do I think of this team? Well, look at what they did at Ellis Park. The difficult thing here is there's been so much hype around the South African team after that performance. They need to keep balanced and level-headed. They need to keep in the moment, go out there and play this as another game starting from zero, because the Pumas are going to come out with all guns blazing trying to take down the South Africans at Twickenham. This is a neutral ground, so to speak, although there'll be many thousands of South African fans there, and I expect there to be many thousands of Argentine fans there as well. And don't forget, the Pumas had a good win against the British and Irish Lions at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, so they are good travellers. We just didn't see it last week because of the dominance of the Springbok team, and I'm expecting to see something pretty similar again this weekend. The key, as I said in my preview video last week, is the Boks are going to have to get that forward domination going first before they take that entitlement to do things in the backline. And I'm sure Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu is going to be the catalyst once again for the Springbok backline. But let's make sure that the Boks forwards are able to get some dominance up front. As I said in my previous video about the game last week, we were only 40 seconds into that game before we had our first scrum, and that was the opportunity for the Boks to actually start putting some pressure on the Pumas and putting them on the back foot. They also competed very well in the lineouts, and their breakdown work was much improved, and we didn't see too much from Matera, Gonzalez, Kremer and Oviedo in that game from the Pumas point of view when they weren't under pressure. So I think Sia Kolesi, Peter Steph-Toy and Jasper Wiese did a very good job in keeping the loose forwards from the Pumas quiet. Let's see how it goes this weekend. Now, once Felipe Contaponi actually announces the Pumas team, I'll come back and I'll do an in-depth video in terms of a preview for this game, talking about how the tactics might be a little bit different in this one from the Springboks, but also from the Argentines. And I can see things being mixed up a little bit compared to what we saw at Ellis Park, because we're playing away at Twickenham for both teams. That will be an interesting matchup for sure. So once again, it's a very impressive team from Rassie, and they're riding high after that demolition job that happened at Kings Park in Durban last weekend. But the biggest thing about playing your next game of rugby is you need to be ready to go, you need to be in the zone, and you take nothing for granted at all. So the scoreboard will read 0-0 at the start of this game at Twickenham. Both teams will have to be switched on to play their best rugby, and may the best team win on the day. So there you go, those are my thoughts around the team. Not much to add after what we saw last weekend. It's really going to be a case of whether this team can back it up with another giant killing performance, or are we going to see something different this time from the Pumas, and making sure they're still in the game beyond half time. That's something they're going to have to watch out for. That second half performance from the Springboks team last week was very, very impressive, as it was against the All Blacks in Wellington. So I'm sure Felipe Contaponi is going to be rethinking his bench, rethinking about the strategy of the game, to make sure the Springboks are not able to run away with it in the second half at Twickenham like they have done in the last two games. Okay, that's it for this particular video. Thanks very much for watching my channel and supporting it. We're growing a fantastic rugby community around the world here. I want to keep that going. Make sure you give me your comments about this team. What do you think of it? What's their biggest danger from a Springboks point of view this Saturday at Twickenham? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. I'll be back again really soon with some more content. Until then, stay well, stay safe. Keep enjoying your rugby across the world, everyone. It's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now, everyone.